We all have fears. You already knew that though. There are the more generic fears, the ones that we know everyone has that are kind of surface level and easy to talk about. You know, fear of failure, fear of what others will think, fear about making mistakes. And when we talk about it in those generic terms, it's easy to understand and yet doesn't really require us to get vulnerable. Then there's the fears that we all have, but struggle to admit to ourselves and definitely struggle to say out loud. These can be things like fear of actually losing all of our money and ending up broke. Fears that we're not loved, maybe not loved by those closest to us. Fears of, quote, getting fat. And fears that we're not good enough. Not good enough for our job, our business, not good enough as moms, as partners, as friends, or just not good enough, period. This is some deep stuff. And yes, we're going there and so many more incredible places today. In this episode, we get real and honest with Athenas Angulo, a Mexican-Canadian blogger and content creator. Athenas is also a marketing strategist, a business owner, as well as a proud mother of two. And on this episode, she gets real and opens up on everything from motherhood to self-love, manifestation, business, and more. Listen up, because today you're going to hear Athenas' experience of becoming a full-time entrepreneur, and then how she ended up hating her business and quitting to take an extended break, even when she was at the top of her game. You're going to learn about how fear stops all of us, and in this case, for you personally, how it may be stopping you from even taking the time to notice what's going on in your life. We talk a lot about how important it is to reevaluate what you want so that you can create what it is that you want in your life and the best life possible for you. You're going to hear a lot of ideas and tips to face the fears in your life so that you can build confidence and find solutions for whatever challenges you face in your life. You also are going to hear what Athenas regrets, some travel, and some other juicy stuff, which you're going to have to listen to find out. The best part is that she talks about how her regrets guide her in how she lives her life today and even how she's raising her kids. Trust me when I say that this episode has plenty of the unexpected, including a harrowing kidnapping experience that resulted in Athenas living in Canada. Believe me when I say by the end of this episode, you are going to feel inspired to do whatever it is that you want in your life. You're going to recognize that your time is so precious and the most important thing you have. You're going to have tools, ideas, and support to face the fears that may be holding you back. And I know you're going to find a new friend in Athenas just like I have. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Goalden Girls Podcast, where we believe you can have it all. I'm your host, Lisa Michaud, and I'm spilling tangible tips, goal-getting strategies, and real-life stories to inspire you to tackle your biggest dreams. You're a woman who knows you're made for more. Get ready to leave the excuses and self-doubt behind by being vulnerable, sharing your truth, and having honest conversations so you can succeed on your terms. Together, we'll set goals you'll actually achieve by staying motivated, having fun, and building a community of women empowering women. It's time to tap into your best self, get confident, and truly have it all. Goalden Girl, let's dive in. I am here today, Goalden Girls, with Athenas. She is a mother, marketing strategist, and business owner. She has a deep passion for wellness, connections, and empowerment. And Athenas is super inspiring in many ways. One of the ways being that in the last 4 years, she's been able to grow her audience to 50,000 people and worked with international and local brands, manifesting and creating the life she wants. And I'm so honored to have you here, Athenas. You're also a friend and someone I just adore. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me here, Lisa. I know you don't take many guests in your podcast, so I truly feel very, very honored to be here.
Well, you have an incredible story and so many inspiring takeaways that I know our listeners are just going to love. So let's dive right in. You've lived a lot of lives. You're a Mexican, Canadian mom, marketing strategist, business owner. You've lived a lot of different lives. So what's your story and how did you come to be where you are?
Well, I was born and raised in Mexico. I came to Canada when I was 17, the first time as an ESL student. And as soon as I arrived in Vancouver, I fell in love with the city. I knew this was a place that I meant to be. I always like to share that before, so I stayed here for 1 year, and then my plan was to go back to Mexico and study my degree in communications. And a day before I leave Vancouver, I remember being at the Canada Place, which is like my special place where I go and through all of my like desires to the universe. And I remember manifesting, saying, I'm gonna go back here one day. I'm gonna um, have a family here. I'm gonna work here. This is where I'm meant to be. I didn't know how would that happen. I just threw it out there and just leave it to the universe. And then 5 years later, I was living in Mexico, in Guadalajara, and I was finishing my degree in communications when something happened. So my mom was kidnapped, and after that, she became extremely um, sensitive. Like, she was very scared of me and my brother, and she wanted us to like leave the country. So we applied for permanent resident, and we got accepted, of course. So I moved to Vancouver 5 years after.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I had no idea about your mom.
Yeah,
Is
it was.
are you open to sharing more about that story?
Yeah, so you, I used to go to the gym with my mom all the time. I lived with her. It was only me and her in her home, and we used to go to the gym together. And that specific day, I was chatting with one of my friends, and I told her, you know what, I'm gonna take my own car. Like, that never happens. How crazy is that? That specific date, I got suddenly busy talking with a friend chatting, and I stayed there. So she left in her car, I left in mine. I saw her at the gym, and I say, okay, I just finished my workout, I'm gonna go back home. She told me she will stay a little bit more, and she will go to the spa and then come back home. So I just went home, and I wasn't paying attention on the time, to be honest. And around 8 p.m., this was around 4 p.m. So I left the gym, let's say at 5 p.m. It was 8 p.m. and her husband called me, and he said, like, hey, where is your mom? And I said, well, I don't know. I just left her at the gym. And he said, like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm calling her and someone is hanging out the cell phone. Something is happening. And I never, ever thought that my mom was kidnapped. Like, that was the last thing on my mind. Like, I never thought that that would happen to someone in my family. So I didn't believe she. My thought was, she's with a friend. She probably talked to one of her friends and went to her home. I don't know. Like, you think everything except that. So he told me, like, please go and look for her. He was living in Mazatlan, like 6 hours away from Guadalajara. So I just put on the shoes, and while I was putting the shoes to go and look for her, um, suddenly the door was like, she was hitting the door, like screaming, open the door, like very, very. So I started walking towards the door, but I was in completely shock. Like, what's happening? Like, why is she screaming like that? But I couldn't move. I was so scared that I couldn't move. And she was keep screaming for help. I didn't know what was going on. So I just went there, opened the door, and she was crying and crying. Then she told me that she was kidnapped, that she stopped by the pharmacy. And when she was like going inside of her car, three people came, they pushed her inside of the car and took her, and they had guns and everything. So they were telling her, like, you're never gonna see your kids again. Just say goodbye to your kids, say goodbye to your family. Oh, look, your husband is calling you. You're never gonna see him again. So it was a lot of psychological trauma that she was going, like, just imagine all the hours. So she knew that they were going away from Guadalajara. They were on the highway, like they were going to another city. And but my mom used to work with this man, this important man in Mexico at that time. And they took the cell phone and they started seeing some numbers in there, like big names on the cell phone. So I guess they thought that my mother was someone important, or I don't know. And they decided to let her go. They threw her in the highway, and they told her, like, just turn around. So she was like, they're gonna kill me now. But they left, and they just left her there.
Oh my gosh. What a horrific experience for your mom and
Yeah.
for your whole family. And I'm so sorry you had to go through that. And such a humbling reminder of like just what a different, and I realize life in Canada is not perfect, and that's just something that we never really think about or experience. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. And sounds like it was a real turning point for your whole family.
That was a completely turning point. And that's how I ended up in Vancouver. So for manifesting that I will get back to Vancouver one day, 5 years prior, and then here I am moving to Vancouver for this reason. Like I will never imagine that all of this will happen to me in 5 years. Like obviously that was not on my
Not the way you want to manifest it,
exactly.
but
Exactly. That's
yeah,
what I say. The
oh my
universe gives
gosh.
you what you want. Maybe it's not on the form that you were thinking of, but
Oh, one of the things I want to also call attention to in your story that's really different. A lot of the women that I work with, one of the biggest things we struggle with, and literally I've had clients that I've worked with them for 5 or 6 months before they let themselves even say, this is what I want. And I don't know how, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know this is what I want. And I think that's one of your real gifts. And so I know we're going to talk about this more, but I just want to call this out, like how hard that is, how rare that is, and how courageous that is. And also it's freaking important to be able to say, this is what I want. I want to be back in this city. I know this is where I'm meant to be. I'm going to have a family. I'm going to have a job. This is going to be my home. And like, yeah, I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I'm flying back to Mexico tomorrow. No idea when I'm going to be back, what that's going to look like. But to have that courage to even say a dream out loud, and then to just trust in yourself and believe and know that you'll find a way to make it happen. Like that's one of the things I love about you. And I hope that even just that message right there, like everybody listening, that is the first step. The first step is not figuring out how. The first step is figuring out what that is that you really want. And Athena's, you're such a great example of that.
yes, I completely agree with you. I share a little bit about what happened to me in January with you. So, in now that we're talking about this subject, in January, so back in July last year, I was laid off from my full time job because of the pandemic. And before, like months before, I remember going to the Canada place, of course. And I remember saying, I want to become a full time entrepreneur. Like I have already going through waitress, to Starbucks, to management position, customer service operations. Like I have done all of this marketing. I have like quit jobs, going into like my dream career, etc. And what's next now? So I guess the next step is entrepreneur. And I said, I'm just gonna put it there. I don't want to become entrepreneur right now. Like whenever happens, it's gonna happen. And then 6 months after pandemic hit, everything happened, and here I am. I became entrepreneur. So
oh man, never like the way you expect it's gonna happen, right?
yeah, like things get crazy. I don't know how things happen, but they happen. Like whenever I say something, it always happen. Not in the way I'm expecting to or in the time I'm expecting to, but it does happen. So I think that's why it's extremely important to pay attention to the words that we say out loud, because I feel that whoever is out there, that's what they're picking, or words. So back in January, I was doing, like, I started to work on my business, concentrate on my business. By the winter, I was making great money. I was working with all of these brands. I was taking everything that it was coming in. I was building websites. I was running social media accounts for several different clients. I was doing all of these partnerships. But then I started to feel burnt out. And not only that, I started to hate marketing. And for me, that was a big fear, because I was like, I thought the marketing was my passion. What is going on now? So one of the lessons that I learned during that time was that I was taking all of these clients, but I love them. They were not aligned with my values. I was handling all of these social media accounts without realizing that even when you run social media accounts, there is a difference, because you are creating the content, you are creating the copies. And it's not the same to create a copy for an interior design company than from a hotel or from a lifestyle blog. Like everything is different. And if you're not passionate about the subject that you're writing to and the pictures that you're writing to, you're not going to feel happy. So one of the lessons that I learned is the importance of niching down in your business and the importance of working with brands and clients that align with your values. Myself, I was so focused about the money in that time because I mean, it was my first time being an entrepreneur. Like I didn't know how that would work and I was scared. It's the only income that I was like having coming in. I lost the government help because I was making enough money with my business. So I was incompletely like I didn't know what to do. So I was burning myself during that time. And then I realized that I lost my purpose. I lost everything that I wanted to like. I wasn't living the life that I wanted to live. So I decided that I wanted to stop everything and make some time to think. And I remember telling that to my accountant, and he was like, "But you cannot just stop anything." Like, what do you mean? And I say, I have to. Like, I have to because I don't know what I want anymore. Like, I usually know, like, I always know what I want. Like, this was the first time in my life that I didn't know what I want. Like, I usually try to visualize where I'm going. I don't know how it will come, but I always know what I want. But this time I didn't know. Like I thought that marketing was what I wanted, and now I don't know what I want. What am I going to do? So I stopped everything and took around 3 to 4 months to think, which I know it sounds crazy. And I think this has been one of the most challenging times and things that I have ever done because when you don't have any money coming in, you start getting like, I don't know, like with
Panicked.
fear. Panic, exactly. That's the word, panic.
Yeah, but and to be clear, like brands were paying you $2,000 an hour.
Yeah, like I have some brands that they will pay me $2,000 for 1 hour of my time. And but it was just, I don't know, like I don't know how to explain that. The money was not what I was looking for anymore. So it was, yeah, the money was important. Of course, it's important. You have to feed I have kids, I have to feed them. But I feel that money can be fixable, but time wasted cannot. Like I knew that I had to be very intentional with my time. I started to become more aware of what was really like where my energy. So I really needed to sit, like take the time to think. And I know a lot of people, they don't take that time to think because they get that fear, the fear of I like I cannot take time off because I'm going to stop making money. But if you don't make the time to like review everything that is happening in your life, if you are feeling that something is missing in your life right now, just take that time to think. You deserve it. You deserve to take the time for you to make a plan. Like you are co-creating with the universe. If you don't know what you want, how do you want the other side to help you, right?
Oh, there's so many good things in there to unpack. So, okay, this, I think we all kind of know in our minds or think we should be intentional, but and you did this, like you were unhappy, you were burnt out. And this, I think this is also very, very, very common. You would be surprised how many women that I talk to, and even our mastermind members, they create a business or they get the job. And then later on, they're like, holy crap, I have everything that I wanted, but it's not what I want. And I'm not happy. So I think very courageous that you took the time to do this and reflect for yourself. Why do you think most people don't do that? And what gets in the way of being intentional and taking the time to reflect? And how do you make time for it?
I think it's fear. I think people, they don't want to like confront their fears. What I seen when I talk with a lot of people that they want to start a business, and they don't take action is because they have all of these limited belief inside of them. And a lot of those fears are coming from our childhood. That's why I said it's very, very important for us to pay attention to what we say, especially to our kids. That happened to me. Um, Growing up with my mom, there was um, a lot of talk about self-love. So my mom has always struggled with self-love. She was putting me on a diet since I was 5 years old. She was always like very saying all of these words, like putting me against food. And I think obviously she is not that she wanted me to live in fear or to not love myself, but I think it was a way for her to protect me. But I understood that later on. So she was telling me all of these words, but at the same time she was also telling me other positive words like manifestation, like you can have everything that you want, and she was leading by example. So I think it's extremely important for us not only to say to our kids things, but also to show them the way.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for sharing all of that. One of the things that you talked about and you shared with me was wanting to be the shape versus the shaper.
Yes.
What does that mean? And like, how does this relate to this, the wake up call that you had in January?
Yes. So in one of my so when I entered to this panic mode in January, I was completely blocked. I was like, I don't know what I want. Like I cannot even manifest anything because I don't know where I'm going. So I did a lot of work on myself. I hired a healer. I was meditating. I was working out. I was taking really the time for me to go within and trying to find some answers. And in one of the meditations, I thought about that. I said, okay, I already know what I want. I want to be very intentional with my time. If I take, so I actually manifest the job that I'm doing right now. I remember being sitting there and I say, I want to have a part-time job that so I can have some sort of security right now. And I want that part-time job to be something that with intention. I don't want to be selling cell phones or selling, like I want something more meaningful for me, like that. I mean, for some people that can be meaningful, like for me that was not what I wanted. um so I threw that and I thought to myself, okay, I want to be like, the only thing that I can do myself to make this happen is to be the shape. I'm not gonna be the shaper. I'm gonna let the universe decide like what will come up next. Like I know I want to be more intentional with my time, but I don't know in what way. Like I don't know if I want to stay as entrepreneur. I know that it will be great to have a part-time job so I can have like some sort of security. But if the universe or God or whoever is out there decides that it's gonna come in a different way, I'll take it. So myself being the shape means be prepared. I'm gonna be the best version of me. So when the opportunity comes, I'm ready. So I'm going to take care of my mental health. I'm going to take care of my physical health. I'm going to take care of learning all the skills that I can on the things that I like. So when I was burning down and I started to think that I hate marketing, I I took the time to review everything that I was doing, all the tasks that I was doing. And I said, okay, what do I like about what I'm doing? I know I like some part of marketing. I truly enjoy working with brands. I love creating content. I love writing. I don't like building websites. Like I hate building websites. There are some things that I like and some things that I don't like about marketing. So I just want the things that I like. These are the activities that I want to concentrate on. And all of these activities have to have like a meaning. I wanted to have a meaning, a, a goal that is meaningful for me at the end. So anyhow, so I start taking more courses about content creation and copywriting and everything that it was related to the tasks that I love. So that's what it means for me. Being the shape is for you to get ready. So when the opportunity comes, you're you're ready. You don't have any fear. And that's another thing. I also, during that time, started to face some fears that I had. I review when I lost my job. I think I panicked, but I didn't panic as much as I should, I guess, because when I lost my job, I stopped and think, hey, wait a minute, I've been here before. So when I moved to Canada, I got a job as a waitress in a Mexican restaurant. I didn't have any savings. Like I was just living by check. And the restaurant suddenly closed. They gave me 1 week notice. I didn't have any savings. I didn't have any help from anyone. And I didn't have any education here in Canada. So, or job experience. I only had the only job experience that I had in my whole life, not only in Canada, it was that waitress position in a Mexican restaurant, and I was 24. So I was looking at the panorama there, and I remember sitting down and I'm like, what am I gonna do back in that time? And I decided the solution that I found is I'm going to invest on myself. I'm going to invest on myself. I'm going to get myself a student loan, and I'm going to study marketing. And that's what I did back in that time. So now when I lost my job, I look back to that experience and I say, well, I have been here before, and now I'm in a way better place. Now I have all of this job experience. I have all of these skills. So I basically copy what I did before. I got myself a business coach. I was like, I need to improve what I'm doing right now. And a friend of mine told me, like, why would you spend money right now when you don't have any income coming? Like, what are you doing? I said, that's exactly when you have to invest in yourself. When you're in your lowest point, that's when you have to invest in yourself. Like, if you don't have money, find the free content that is out there. There is so much free content and tutorials and workshops and everything that you can join. Don't panic. There is a lot. There is always solutions. Just sit down and review all of the possible solutions. It's not that I didn't have another solution back in that. I could easily say, you know what, I'm going to go back to Mexico and live with my parents. And there are more comfortable solutions. But I went for the long one. I was like, no, I want to stay in Vancouver. This is what I'm meant to be. I'm going to make it happen. So you always got to find, I promise you, if you are struggling, and you sit down and do this brainstorming, you're going to find more than one solution.
Oh my gosh, so good. I mean, I want to, like, everything you say, I just want to unpack in like 8 different directions. But one of the things I just really love about you is your confidence in what you want and your unwavering commitment to it. It's really inspiring and so powerful. And you're right, like there's always a solution. And it doesn't mean that you're not scared. It doesn't mean that other people aren't going to tell you you're doing it wrong. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have setbacks. It doesn't mean that you might even fully achieve your goal and to be like, oh crap, this is not what I thought it was going to be. But it means that you can get back up, and super inspiring. Okay. A couple of things I want to, oh my gosh, so much to pull apart here. Can we even like do the spoiler alert of what happened? Because you planted the seed, the shape versus the shaper. You said, I'm going to be the shape. This is the work I want to do. What actually happened from that? Like, where are you now?
So from January to here, so in around March, I started to review all the fears that I had and everything. So while I was doing this, I started creating a program that is called Conquering Your Fears. So by April, I was my influencer business, I knew that I wanted to keep working with brands. So I started getting some partnerships here and there. And I started to coaching women to conquer their fears. So that's how I got this program set up. I just wrote everything, like every single thing that I did for me to get out of all of those fears. And so I started coaching women. And then suddenly I got a call from a job that I applied a year and something before, and inviting me. It was a part-time job with like that, exactly what I was looking for, like the meaningful goal that I was looking for. And I just took that opportunity. So right now I'm working part-time in that. and I'm also working on my business. And I'm super busy right now. Like, I just can't believe that as soon as you know where you go, like as soon as you know what you want and you start taking action, doors start opening. I feel that it's like an unblock. Like when you don't know, when you are upset or not satisfied, completely satisfied with what you're doing, all this energy I feel, start accumulating and start creating blocks. But as soon as you find that thing that spark your your mind and everything, things start opening, like things start happening by themselves.
Yeah. I think I think people don't even realize this, but sometimes also knowing what you don't want is also very powerful. And I think we sometimes like make ourselves wrong for that. It's like, oh my gosh, I should just be happy with it. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I should just be happy with this. Or I love marketing. I should just enjoy this. Why aren't I enjoying this? Like, and we kind of like ignore it or squash it or push it down or think we're wrong. And I think that's actually what creates the blocks, is not listening to yourself. Whether it's something, realizing the call of what you do want, whether it's, living in Vancouver and you and I both have that similar call, or a call to marketing or brands, or a call to whatever, or it's also the call that's saying, no, this is not for you. But we have to listen to that, because when we don't, I believe that's what creates the blocks in ourselves. And it's being able to listen to that, even if it's what you don't, because if you know what you don't want, it's a heck of a lot easier to then work your way backwards and be like, okay, if I don't want this, or I don't like this, or this is not working for me, then what do I want? And that's an important starting point. So I think, yeah, I just wanted to call that out, because I think a lot of people don't recognize that. And for you, use that as the jumping off point. And instead of making yourself wrong, we're like, well, this isn't working. So let's figure out what's not working here, and then what will work. So I love that.
Yeah, another thing that I will say is, so how I do the things, I like to visualize myself in 5 to 10 years. Then I start working on manifesting that. By manifesting, I mean I try to put every single day a step forward that goal. You don't have to do like something big every day. You don't have to be working full time in your job and in your part time in your business. You can, as long as you put some time every day. The key is every day. The key is consistency. If you are consistent doing something for that dream of yours, the rest will come. You will see suddenly you're gonna be like, wow, what's happening? Like, that's exactly what happened with my blog. I started my blog back in 2017. I never thought that 4 years later I will be able to pay my bills only with this blog, only with this side hustle, that it was like my fun thing to do. Like, I started doing this as a like something for fun, like sharing all the recipes, sharing all the like health and wellness tips that I was getting on my wellness coach certification. And then I started sharing about motherhood and all of this stuff. But every single day I was doing something for this blog. Every single day I was writing captions. Every single day I was taking pictures. Every single day I was connecting with someone, attending events. I was trying to I was doing something every single day. And then 4 years after, I lost my job. And guess what? I had a side hustle that I was paying my bills. So I think it is important. Like, that's another message that I want to say. And it's not necessarily to become entrepreneur. It can be something else. Like, sometimes I talk with friends and they said, I hate my job. I just hate my job. And I'm like, you've been in your job for 5 years. And they say, well, this job doesn't, they don't value me. I've been there for 5 years and I've been giving all of me, and they don't give me a raise. They don't like promote me. And I say, have you ever asked them? And they're like, well, no, but they should know. And I'm like, some people are busy. Like, people, like, no one thinks about you more than you. Like, so if you want something, that's something that has helped me a lot as well. Whenever I want something, I try to let everyone knows that I want this, because you never know what opportunities can come from your friends, from coworkers, from whatever. Like, when I want something, I wanted a raise. I wanted to change positions back in a job, like 2 jobs ago. And I remember going to my boss and say, I want to move to marketing. And my boss said, no. And I said, okay, then I'm leaving. So I knew, can you imagine? I look back to that time and I'm thinking, you know what? It will be so, if I wouldn't be like, okay, they say no, then I'm gonna stay on my job, and I will be still there for another 10 years doing a job that I wasn't happy about. Like, I wouldn't have all of these things that I have. But I say, they told me no, but no doesn't mean that I'm never gonna have what I want. So if they say no, someone else is gonna say yes. So they say no, just look for another opportunity. You don't have to do what I did, quit your job and get out, but you can just start looking for something else. Tell everyone you know what you want, and yeah, don't give up.
This is one of the things I really love about you, and what I hope that people, and I know the people listening are going to really feel your energy, which is such a commitment to figuring it out, to keep moving forward. Like it's a great message. And I'll double down on what you just said as far as, asking for what you want. That is so true in every part. Like, you never know who's listening, or who maybe needs to hear what you have to share, or who maybe knows somebody. And you're right. Like, I think, I wish I'd known this when I first started my career, like literally my first job, even. Like, I don't know where we get this idea, so that anywhere in life that like our partners are going to be able to read our minds, or our bosses are going to know when it's time for a raise or what opportunity we want. Like, I learned that lesson the really hard way, and definitely in past relationships. And but also in my career, I remember my first year in my first like really good corporate job that I had, and I worked my butt off. And that year I went through 4 different managers, because there was a lot of changes happening in the organization. And I worked on a big project. I worked about 1,000 hours of overtime in just a few months. Like, it was,
What?
yeah, it was like 800 hours or something in like just a couple months. It was wild. And I remember going to my performance review, and I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to nail this. Like, and I've always been like the good girl and the front row student, like the teacher's pet kind of thing. So I was like, this is gonna be great. And I get there, and my boss basically said to me, you successfully met the expectations. And I was like, okay, but like, what about all the other things that I did? And he's like, oh, well, like, I didn't really know about that you did that. Like, that didn't really get passed along.
Oh my
And
God.
I remember I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. And because I'd gone through 4 different managers, and no one had really properly communicated that, and never got through to it. And that was just such a powerful lesson for me, that like, no one is going to advocate for what I want and what I need. And definitely, like, I could have been bitter about it. And I wasn't. I took that as like, this is a really good lesson. Like, yes, this lesson probably cost me a couple percent of a raise and a bigger bonus, whatever, but I'll never forget this lesson. And from then on, like every month, every 2 months, I would sit down, and like, I actually kept a list. I kept a PowerPoint presentation. You guys, I love PowerPoint presentations, of like all my accomplishments. Every time I had a meeting with my boss, I would sit there and be like, this, and this. And I would tell them exactly what I wanted. And these are my goals, and these are the things. And I reached out and found mentors, and I asked people. And, every year after that, I got the highest raises, the highest performance ratings that I could get, and got promoted multiple times, because I advocated for myself, because I was able to say, these are the things that I did. This is what you wanted from me. This is what I did. And having those conversations. And I know for sure I never would have had the success that I did, and the opportunities and the promotions and the mentors I got to work with and the projects I got to work on, if I hadn't asked for them and said, this is what I want. And then also been able to say, like, this is what I did, and stand up for myself. So I think that, yeah, I just want to like echo that.
Raise your hand, girl. Raise your
Yes.
hand. You want to be seen? You want people to know what you want? Raise your hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? I think that's another lesson that I learned when I was taking this time back in January, that was like, what can I do to impact the world? Like, I want to be famous so I can change the world, so many people can see my message. And then I realized, you know what? You can change. Like, my only job here in this era, it is to enjoy this time. I think we are here to learn, to grow, to love, to seek, to teach. I think that's the reason why we are here, for us to be the best versions that we can be, so we can spread that love to others. Yeah, at the end, I feel that when I say like money can be fixable, but time cannot. I always think about like when I go back, like when it's time for me to say goodbye to this earth and I go back to my life, I don't want to be regression. Like I don't want to be regretting that I didn't do this, because there's so many things that I regret that I didn't do back in my teenage years and my 20s. That I decided that I don't want to regret anything. I want to be doing everything that I love. I want to be the best version of me. So when I go back and I say my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, they were the best years because I was very aware of what I wanted and I was doing what I want.
So good. Now, I'm guessing this came because you had some regrets. I'm guessing that you now know you don't want to regret because you did regret things. What are some of the things that you do regret?
Well, I do regret not traveling enough. Like I'm always so jealous of my brother because he was taking all the summers going backpacking in South America and Europe. I never did that. And I know it's never too late, but like right now it wouldn't be the same experience with two kids. Maybe when they get to I don't know, like they're 14s, but right now like it's just like I cannot go backpacking. It will be a completely different experience. So I wish I did that. I also wish I was raised in a very traditional hometown, and I was a very good girl. I was like a very, very good girl. And it's not that I regret being a good girl. I mean, I like having these values and stuff, but I wish I wasn't that good. I wish I like,
What would you go back and do?
oh, I can say I will get very wild. I will be like sleeping around, going party car. I did party car, but I was like a very good girl. But I think I will try different things. I will be sleeping around. I don't know. Like I will do a lot of stuff that I didn't do. And also I learned a lesson from that. I don't want my kid, like for me, there was not sex talk with my parents. There was a lot of taboo, like racism, like a lot of subjects that we never ever touch. And I didn't know how uneducated I was until I arrived in Canada, to be honest. Like I feel that I'm like I'm learning now. Like I'm 35 years old and I'm just learning all of this stuff that I should have learned when I was a kid. But those subjects, they were not in the top in the table. So I want to I want to do that different with my kids. I mean, Mexico, I feel our culture is very traditional in general. We are our biggest religion is Catholic, and so is there are a lot of subjects that are not on the table. And here in Canada, I think it's a completely different experience. I'm not saying that Canadians are wild, but yeah, I feel that I have more freedom. I feel that there is more transparency, or I don't know if it's the times, the 2020. I have no idea what it is, but I just feel that there is more important subjects that I wish I was educated about when I was a child.
Thank you for sharing those and being so real. And what I love about it is that you have regrets and you're using them to now to guide the rest of your life. You're using the regrets that you have to guide the conversations you have with your kids that are different than the conversations you had growing up. And you're using those regrets as a reminder to, as we, pulled right to prioritize pleasure in your life. Now maybe you didn't do that in your teens and 20s, but now you are. You're like, what do I want? How do I make this the best decade of my life? Like that's so powerful. And so as much as I don't wish necessarily regrets on people, there can be power out of regrets if you can look at it and then recognize what is it that I missed and how can I then shift my life intentionally to change that.
That's why, I it's funny that you pulled that card from Daniela Por. I really like her and her message about like knowing how you want to feel. And that's the reasons why I like your planner, because it does make me think. Like if you don't have the time to think, just get Lisa's planner. It's gonna make you think every single week and do like the whole yeah, the whole review, like, am I going on the right direction? How did I feel this week? What activities I've been doing to fulfill, like to fill up my cup? Like, what are the activities that I don't like to do? So I think it's extremely important for us to see the whole pictures so we can be living the life that we desire.
Yeah, thanks for the shameless plug. I appreciate that. So, I definitely agree with you and love Danielle Laporte's message around like how important feelings are. You also say that words are very important. And like, how does that guide you? You shared a couple stories, and if you got more, feel free to share them of how words and energy has affected your life. But like, how do you actually implement that? And how does that shape who you are on a day-to-day basis as an entrepreneur, as a coach, as a mom? How does that shape you?
I've been doing meditation for like forever. I have this book that is called, well, it's in Spanish. I haven't seen a version in English of this book. However, it's kind of like The Secret. I think whoever wrote The Secret, they read this book first. I don't have any doubt of that. But in the book there are a lot of words. Like, you say, like, today is gonna be the best day of my life. Money flows to me all the time. So every morning I repeat those words over and over, over and over. I have been repeating those words since I was 14. Like, I know this by, like, in the morning I don't have to read them anymore. I just repeat them over and over, over and over every morning. And I feel that when we repeat constantly those thoughts and those words, they will affect you. It's like the positive words will affect you, the negative words affects you too. Like, when you are with a coworker that is constantly, or with a person that is constantly negative, the words are going to get to you at some point. Even you can be the most positive, great energy person in the world, that is going to start getting into you. So try to that's why that long time ago I read this book about Masaru Emoto. It's called, this guy, about an experiment that he did with water. So he put in a room, he put all of this bunch of people, and all of them, they were saying like positive words, and on the other room he put a bunch of people saying negative words. And the shape of the water, when they, like, they have this instrument that they can see like the shape of the water. I have no idea how they can see that, but they show you the pictures in the book. Just Google it, Masaru Emoto, and you will see like how crazy, how the impact that your words have in your body. What we are, I don't know, 80% water, something like that. I'm very bad on this, but I know we are like 80% water.
I'm pretty sure. And like, I'm chugging water here, so I'm probably closer to like 95 right now, but yeah.
Yeah. So imagine all the words, like that, all the energy that is flowing into your body, if you can shape that energy to positive just with words. So I truly believe in the impact of the words that we say. I try to practice that every morning. Right now I'm doing this very quick meditation, because I don't have much time, that it says today is going to be a good day. Say it whether you mean it or no. Today is going to be, what could go right today. Like, what can make this the best day of your life. So just start, say those words and see what happens. Just practice this. I would recommend everyone to practice saying positive words every morning with whatever you want to manifest, even if it's money, or if it's a new job, or being a better mom, or being whatever it is. Just write a positive sentence and repeat it over and over, over and over for a month, and you will start seeing the change. I promise you, you will start seeing the change.
You got that, everyone? There's your invitation and your challenge. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I've been consistent sometimes, inconsistent overall, not super consistent about it, but every time I do that, or do those kinds of like mantras or something, that, especially when they're related to my goal, it changes things. So I will leave it really cool. And I need to like put in this caveat, because I had a conversation with a client earlier this week, and I'm going to record a podcast episode about it. This is not about toxic positivity. This is not about pretending like everything is okay when it's really not. Like, I think your story, Athena's really highlighted that like it was actually the fact that you were not happy that brought you out and allowed you to then figure out what you do want, right? So like it's not only about choosing positive or always being happy or only thinking good thoughts. Like the negative things, negative emotions, negative thoughts that we have, they also have a purpose if you use them with purpose. The reason that colleague that always complains drains you is because there's no purpose to it. They're just complaining and being negative with no purpose. But I just wanted to, I guess, make that distinction. I'm going to do a podcast episode on this in the future, but I want to say this is not about like forgetting that there's other things that may be negative or that we may need to change in our life, but it's about being that has a purpose too, like it did in Athena's life, like it has in mine too. And you can also, there's a lot of power with intentionally adding positivity to your life and positive words and thoughts.
Exactly. It's not that nothing bad happened to us, and
or that you're not allowed to think bad thoughts.
Exactly. Like I of course get anxiety and get bad thoughts and everything. When I was I didn't share about this, but when I had me, I remember with all this trauma that I grew up with, self-love.
Me as your daughter.
Yeah, me as my daughter. So when I grew up with this self-love trauma and I had Mia, I always said, you know what, when I have a daughter, I'm gonna understand my mom. And then Mia came and I was in the middle of the night feeding Mia. And I remember looking at her and say, how is it possible that my mom was looking at me and don't thinking that I'm the most beautiful thing in this world? Like, I just can understand this. And this fear of my mom doesn't love me came to me. And I was like super sad and probably depressed for a few months thinking about like, what, and I started hating my mom, to be honest. In that time I was like, she never loved me, like she did all of this to me. I was in a victim mode. I was thinking I'm the victim, like it was such a bad mom, and I was thinking all of these things until I say, you know what, but why? Until I start asking questions to that fear. So why, like why would she don't love me? Like, what is wrong with me? And then I start asking questions until I realized that our fears are not against us. They want to protect us. Like my mom was the fear. She is not that she didn't love me. She wanted to protect me. So
What was she trying to protect you from?
I think from her, like, because she suffered a lot from her own self-love. She was scared that people would not like me, or that that I wouldn't be enough, or that I will not gonna love myself. But that's exactly what it was happening, that I was not loving myself. But she was always putting me on a diet so I can be happy. That was her, because that for her happiness was related to self-image. She thought that would be the same for me, but it wasn't. Like happiness for me was completely, and she told me, I shared this with her, like after I was confronting my fear, I confront her and I say, you know what, I felt all of this. Like I remember a very, very bad episode when I was a child, and she screamed to me, you're a fat girl. And those words, I think, you know what, I don't have many memories from my childhood, so I can't believe that I have that memory, because I don't remember many things from my childhood, but I remember exactly that moment. That's what I'm saying, that words matter. The words can be a very impactful thing. And it's not that she has always been there for me. Like I know she loves me, but probably in that time she lost her shit. Like I guess she lost her, I don't know, probably, I don't know, maybe my brother and I, we were fighting, who knows? But she lost it, and she said those words to me, and they stay with me forever. And I was 7 years old and I remember the age. I can't believe that I even remember the age, but I remember the age. I remember where we were. Like I remember everything, and I remember her screaming that to me. So since then I became like, I was eating and eating and eating a lot. Like I wanted to get very fat when I was a kid. And as soon as my parents got divorced, I became obsessed to lose the weight. Like my mom moved away. She was like very far from me. I became obsessed to lose the weight. And I'm not psychology, like psychologists. I don't know how really mind works. But when I analyze the whole thing, I think that the reason maybe why I started trying to lose weight, it was because my mother was not there anymore. And maybe that was my way to be like, oh, now I'm gonna be pretty. That was like, so she can come back. I don't know, like I can be many things. Like, I'm not a psychologist, but I know I became obsessed to lose the weight. I wanted to, I always say I don't want to be like her, but I was becoming her. Like, I was taking like all of these diet pills, exercising, diet after diet after diet. And I truly believe that all of this, I mean, after I had Mia, everything like changed for me. It was like a big wake up call of finally confronting that fear. I never knew, I was not aware that I had that fear until I had Mia, and it was time for me to confront it.
Wow. And I thank you so much for your vulnerability and your honesty in that. I see you, and that's so hard. How has confronting that fear that your mother didn't love you, that fear of getting fat, those fears, how did confronting that change your life?
Oh my God, I just felt so light. I feel so light. Like, when I realized that everything I knew about health and wellness and love and acceptance, I feel free. That's the word. I feel free. Like, now I don't care if I show up naked and people doesn't like it. It's their problem. Like, this is my life. Tomorrow I can die. I don't care. Like, this is my book, this is my yeah. And I feel that I'm like the how do you call, like, protagonist of this, because this is my life. So I want to do whatever I want. I want to love me and do whatever. Like, if I want to wear shorts, I wear shorts. If I want to wear a bikini, I'm going to wear a bikini. I don't care anymore what people thinks, because I truly got to the point and make the work to love and accept myself in every chapter. And by this doesn't mean that I don't like taking care of myself. I love taking care of myself, and I do it because I love me, not because that is society standards, or because I want my mother to love me or my husband to like me, or I don't do it for anyone. I do it for me.
Mic drop. So good. So good. Yeah, that's amazing. Just such a great message, because I think sometimes we avoid the fears, we avoid the uncomfortable, the discomfort. And when we can actually look at that, explore it, that's actually what liberates us and makes us feel free and makes us evolve and move on, right? And it sounds like, you exploring the self-love piece is very similar to even like the job, like your job loss, like you are, because you'd been through it once, because you'd faced those fears. The next time it happened, it was like, yeah, I got this. I'm all in as an entrepreneur. No big deal. Yeah. I just hired a business coach. Yeah. I'm making no money. No big deal. I got this. This is the only way to make this happen. And so because you've been able to confront those fears and really dive into them, move through them, that is what's allowed you to keep rocking it in so many aspects of your life. And I know that's what you're so passionate about sharing with people, isn't it?
Yes, I love encourage people to face those fears, because once you do, you face one fear, it's going to be way easier to fear another, and to face another, and to face another. It becomes a practice. You start becoming more confident. That's the word. You start becoming more confident because you know that you can do it, that whatever it is, you're going to find a solution. So I've been going through the fear of thinking that my mother doesn't love me. I've been going through the fear of job loss. I think this has been one big one. The fear of not having enough money. The fear of not knowing what is next, like feeling completely lost. I think everyone faces fears like constantly. Some of them ignore them. They just say, you know what, I just gonna pretend it's not there. Others decide to take half action. I will say half action, And the other ones, they are like, no, I just want this to be gone. So go for it. They go for them.
What would you say is somebody listening being like, all right, I know I have a fear, whether it's fear of leaving this job that's really crappy, or fear of leaving the business that's maybe successful but not working, or leaving a relationship, or leaving a toxic work environment, or whatever that is. What is the first step in facing and conquering a fear?
The first step is what I do myself is I like to go to my past. I like to go to my past and ask questions about that. So I like to go and say, okay, I start analyzing myself like if I were a psychologist. So why do I think that I'm not good enough? Okay, what are my fears? So first of all, I find, okay, what is exactly my fear? My fear is to be rejected. My fear is that I'm not going to have enough money. My fear is whatever the fears it is. Then I will try to find out, where is this fear coming from? Like, what experiences have happened to me that make this fear come here? After I find that, then I start asking questions so I can start meeting the fear halfway. And then after that, I will come up with solutions.
So good. So simple. And this is why you're coaching women on this. It's brilliant. So good. Okay. Before I let you go, I want to ask you one more question, because I know it took you 4 years to leave your job, and in the end, it was very liberating for you. What's your best advice for someone who wants to leave their 9 to 5 or wants to grow their side hustle, but they are scared? Because I know that there's a lot of mindset pieces that you had to get around to make that happen.
Do what I did. It's exactly what I said right now. Just write down all the fears that you have. Then look at the past, because most of the time, those fears come from words or they come from actions or episodes that happened in the past. Write down what happened in the past. Start asking those questions, and then ask yourself, what can go wrong if you go towards that fear, and what can go right. So you can balance it out, and most of the time you will see that there are a lot that most of the time is going to go right. Write down all the things that you can do every day to make that goal happen. Even if it's only 5 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, connecting with someone, sending a message, raising your hand. There are many things that you can be doing today that it would take that much time. And whatever you do every day, that's what they say, whatever action you do, whatever things that you do daily is going to shape your future. That is so true. So every single day, make something that it will get you closer to where you want to be. And I listened to Lisa's episode the other day, and another episode here in the Goalden Girl podcast, when you share, you know what, I thought that I will be in certain that I will be making, I don't know how much money by this time with my business. But you have to understand that things are not always coming on the time that we want to. They come on the right time, because there are many lessons that we have to learn, and that's why we're here, to learn, to grow, to seek, to find. And we are not every chapter, this is like I see our lives like a book, that in our books we have many chapters with many lessons. So pay attention on the lessons that are around you, make the most of them and overcome them. And if you do all of this, you don't have to be having thousands of followers for you to inspire others. Like, with doing what you like, you're living your true self, that is inspiring. You don't have to be like changing the world, just living your true self.
Such good words. Okay. I feel like it's hard to go anywhere with that, because it's just such a beautiful place such a beautiful reminder for everybody. Okay, you also have a very generous offer for our listeners. What is that?
Yes, I want to offer to whoever is listening to this podcast a 50% off on my Conquering Your Fears program. So this program, as I said, has helped me a lot to overcome all of my own fears. and I hope it can help one of you as well.
Oh my
So
gosh,
from
thank
here
you.
to end of August, you guys can book me.
Amazing. So that's totally end of August 31st, 2021. How can I'll post links in the show notes. Like, is there a certain link that people go to or a promo code, or how can they use it?
They can go to my website, athenasangulo.com, and they can read more about what this program is about. And they can DM me via Instagram, Athenas Angulo. And yeah, we can arrange that via DM.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That's super generous. And what an amazing opportunity for everybody listening who is facing a fear to learn Athena's amazing method to overcome it. So good. And you did say where people can find you and follow you, but I just want to highlight that. Please go love on Athena's and give her lots of support. So, excuse me, Athenas Angulo on Instagram, and your website is athenasangulo.com. Is that right?
That's right.
Amazing. We'll put all the links in the show notes. Please go give her some love. Okay. Now we're going to do some rapid fire questions before we wrap up. What is a goal that you're working on right now?
Right now, my goal is still growing my business. My goal is to keep growing the business from here to the end of the year. That's what I'm working on right now.
Awesome. What is the best lesson that you learned in the last year?
To be intentional with my time.
How did you learn that? What was that moment that taught you that the time was more important than the money?
It was a time when I was making enough money, but I wasn't feeling completely complete or happy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully for everybody listening, you can hear that's real and you don't have to go down that path, but yeah, so good. Okay. Tell me, do you eat Canadian poutine?
No, I like it, but I don't eat Canadian
Okay.
poutine.
But okay. So if you like it, would you rather have cheese curds or shredded cheese on it?
Shredded cheese.
What? No. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to take you for some poutine, and then we'll go eat it at Canada Place with curds because the right curds are so good. I'm biased, but that's my opinion. Okay. If you had a magical wand, what would you use the magic for?
Oh my God, I will use the magic to help people, like to
How
be
would you help
walking
them?
around. I don't know, like if people were hungry, I will just put a magic wand and I will put food on it. It's the first thing that came to my mind. And I will be walking around people that are worried and stressed. I will just put the magic wand in like this in their minds. That's exactly what I will be doing.
Yeah, that's so cool. I hear in that your passion for helping. You obviously have a connection with food as well that I think, can come I know you did nutritional and wellness, right? There's obviously some
That
passion
was
that
the
you have
first
for that.
thing. How curious is that? The first thing that came to my mind was to give people food.
Yes, yes. And the last thing you said was alleviate their stress in their mind, which is what you're doing with what you're doing in conquering your fears. So
Oh
you're
my
coaching.
God.
So, I mean, there you go. I may not have a magic wand, but you're already making these things happen, which is super cool. Okay, last question. If you could travel anywhere right now for food, where would you go and what would you eat?
Oh my God. The thing is, I love Mexican food. So obviously what I'm craving right now is Mexican food, but I have never been in Paris and I'm dying to go. I don't know why. I just want to go with Mia and no with my daughter and not with my boy. But I feel that I want to do a girls trip with Mia to Paris and eat all the croissant and pasta in the world. So that's another goal that I have. Bring Mia like in a girls trip to Paris one day.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Athenas, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our audience, for sharing your stories and being so honest. I think all these things, complicated relationships with foods and mothers and motherhood and entrepreneurship, these are things that we all experience and not everybody is willing to talk about them. And you talk about it in such an honest way and then also such a way that you create change, you take action and you get what you want. I think anybody listening to this episode, they've now have that takeaway. They can also get whatever that they want in life. And you're a shining example of that. And your stories have inspired us all.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Lisa.
Isn't Athenas amazing? I gotta tell you, this episode is definitely a little different than some of the other interviews that I've done. Although we initially started out really wanted to focus on sharing fears, facing fears, the power of words and manifestation, and we tackled all those things, we also went so many other amazing directions, and so much honesty and experiences came out that, there was just no way we could take them out, right? They're so good. One of the things I really wanted to call out is that we talked about the importance of being intentional, the importance of taking time to think and reflect, especially if you're unhappy or burnt out, then you must make the time for yourself to reflect and figure out what it is that you actually want. I'm a big advocate of this, for taking the time to reflect often. Weekly planning, right? Monthly, yearly. And I think what Athena shared is such a reminder of that and such a powerful example. She literally quit her business when it was what she thought she wanted and was at the top of her industry and still was not feeling fulfilled. And I feel like that's just so powerful and so inspiring. I also love what she says, everything she says about your time being more precious than money and how important that is to spend and invest it wisely. I have to say though, one of the most inspiring things and probably the biggest takeaway from me from this whole conversation with Athenas is her positive attitude. This is a woman who has overcome a lot. This is a woman who has faced many challenges, and she continues to show up. Athenas continues to do the hard things, to challenge herself, to choose to do uncomfortable things, and to be positive, to be committed to doing better and going for what she wants. And she does this in a way that's not about toxic positivity, but just about real empowerment, real strength, and this relentless pursuit of what she knows is possible and what she desires in her life. My friend, I hope that this episode inspired you too. Now you have some new tools, some tools to tackle your fears, because we've all got them. I hope you also have some new awareness and reminder of the importance of how the words you speak to yourself and those around you, how important that is. Maybe it's also inspiring you to be a little less of a good girl. I know I laughed a lot and smiled when I listened and re-listened to Athena sharing her regrets. And maybe it's just me, but it sure makes me want to get a little more wild. And I'm not going to lie, when those clubs reopen, look out, because I'm going to be there ready to dance it up. Athenas, tell me you're coming with me. Anyone else, send me a DM. Let's do this. All right. Well, most of all, I really hope that after listening to this, you're ready to go take action on whatever big or small goal that you have and keep on creating the life that you want. You've got this. Thank you so much for listening. If something spoke to you, send me a message by sharing this episode and tagging me on social media. If you know someone who would love to hear this episode, please share it with them too. Because I love surprises, make sure you subscribe to the Goalden Girls Podcast today. It's the only way to find out about bonus surprise episodes and make sure you don't miss a single beat on your golden journey. Thanks again for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode of the Goalden Girls Podcast.